What does A Fault in Our Stars, a 2014 movie about cancer patients, have to do with the inauguration of the first female president of the United States of America? What does that have to do with Brat Summer? Let's talk about Lorde. If you are gay or online or gay and online, you've heard about Brat Summer. From jaggedly TikTok dancing your way to a song about generational trauma, to millions of green posts flooding your feed of literally anything, claiming that people are having a Brat Summer, to shopping and booklets labeled How to Have a Brat Summer, begging a chronically online generation to develop some media literacy skills and read a book, pointing to literally anything green and saying Brat Summer, to NATO promoting peace, which went about as well as you think. War is peace, apparently, and also brat, to eventually the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, adopting the brat aesthetic for their presidential campaign. More on that later. Everyone around you was having a Brat Summer, and like God, it was omnipresent. When Charli XCX sang, "I am everywhere, I'm so Julia," she was being the CEO of manifestation. How did a way to promote a Charli XCX album end up defining the cultural zeitgeist of 2024? Marketers were salivating for a moment to capitalize, like the commodified cultural phenomenon of Barbenheimer. And the people crave a validated space for unapologetic, chaotic authenticity. A feeling of community formed by people disillusioned with the false promises of hustle culture, and a rejection of the groomed ideals of youth and femininity in favor of hedonistic desires. A people bonded by the solace that, hey, you're not the only ones feeling kind of insecure and messy about life, relationships, and yourself. But it's fine because you're iconic, you're hot anyway, and you're trying your best. All with Apple playing on blast on TikTok in the background, proving that an apple a day does indeed keep the mental health doctor away. But more on that later. This is what formed Brat Summer. And how did it become the thing that it criticized? To understand how the ideology of the Brat album took a life on its own and how people latched onto that and it became the cultural phenomenon of Brat Summer, we first need to take a step back and look at the artist of Charli XCX. For me, Brat Summer started with her 360 music video. The strat to a 2000s like Nokia type of jingle, except I don't have it associated to my parents picking up the phone and putting it on full blast at decibels not yet discovered, and now I've developed both secondhand anxiety and hearing loss. The shots framed through the hazy lens of moody, grainy film, and the camera sweeps into a board meeting, reminiscing the Last Supper, but it's not the apostles, it's a table of it girls. We need to find a hot new it girl, otherwise our kind will die out. To me, the whole music video feels like smudged eyeliner, you know? And honestly, this was a gift for the chronically online. Like, do you mean both YouTube it girls and movie actress Chloe Sevigny? Like, this is like the modern version of when Beyonce, Miley Cyrus, and Rihanna all came together to maximize their joint slay. Charli XCX, proving British people have more to offer the world than just Ed Sheeran and colonization. I was born to make dance music. To understand Brat, we need to understand Charli XCX. Raised in the rave scene, she's always kind of been on the edges of pop. If you haven't heard of Charli XCX, you've definitely heard Charli XCX. If she's not crashing cars into bridges, watching it burn, she doesn't care. She loves it. She's trashing hotels. She's so fancy. You already know she doesn't give a fuck. Or breaking rules because she doesn't want to go to school. Or even feeling like she's burning up. This must be love. Boom, clap, goes the sound of her heart. The beat goes on and on and on. Okay, alright, flex, yeah, in a movie about cancer patients. But I think Charli XCX's success comes from being really chronically online. If she's not the one being the subject of meme culture.
I thought this fucking song was big in Germany! What the fuck are you doing? Come on! Ah! I don't care!
Are you bi? You give me bi vibes. I'm actually not bi. So... yeah, but I'm really happy I'm giving you bi vibes because that's cool. So sorry to let you down. It'd be cool if I was bi, but yeah, I'm not. But I feel like I let you down. I'm sorry.
As a connoisseur of like 2014, 2016 era, boom clap was iconic in no part thanks to John Green and the grip that The Fault in Our Stars had on millions of teens worldwide. Before vapes, kids, there was metaphorical cigarette smoking.
It's a metaphor, see? You put the thing that does the killing right between your teeth, but you never give it the power to kill you. A metaphor.
Her 2014 album was Tumblr Crack, and the way that she marketed Brat proves that she really understood stan culture and the language of being online. Because in 2014, she was mistaken for Lorde.
I love your music. One of my favorite songs that you have is Royals. Where did you get the inspiration for that?
Royals came from, just me looking at like how I'm from New Zealand, from like a small town, and like I'm not really part of that bougie like lifestyle culture, so I thought I'd write a song about it.
And this became a decade-long lore/meme, which both her and Lorde entertained. And the fans, including me, were begging for a collab, which is why in 2024, when she alluded in an interview, there was kind of a song that was adjacent to a diss track, but not really a diss track, but you know who the song is about when you hear it. And the song was clearly about Lorde.
We're with you.
So confusing.
Yeah, wait, I have questions about this. Okay. Who's this about? No.
People are gonna guess.
Yeah.
I feel like
I've already guessed.
Probably both have an accurate guess. And I'm not gonna ask you to say it out loud because you'll tell by my face.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. But afterwards,
like,
I'm gonna ask.
It's probably that person.
Right.
Yeah.
And the song was like, Charlie talking about, does she hate me? Does she want to be me? Is she actually my friend? Am I just jealous? People went crazy. And every girl around the world was like, wait a minute. Is this song about me?
I don't think that you become a bad feminist if you maybe don't see eye to eye with every single woman. No matter how you identify, there is this dance that everybody is watching each other. Everybody's like posing in their picture, like, hey, oh my God, so nice to see you. I want what they have.
Right.
And this happens, but no one really is like willing to discuss it.
And then when she did a remix with Lorde on the song about Lorde, for the girls and the gays, this was like when Kendrick was doing diss tracks with Drake, and it was like a semi-beef track, except it wasn't even beef, so it was basically vegan because it was about women having insecurities being in the same industry. And so Charlie has always understood internet virality and had this like, I don't give a F aura about her as her music has progressed through time. And Brat is where she really leaned into this club hyper dance pop sound.
I mean, because what is art without conviction? It's crap,
The thing about Brat is Brat was designed to trend. Whenever an album is just like a thing on a plain background, you know it's gonna eat. Like when Satan devoured his son, Lorde's Pure Heroine, Frank Ocean's Orange, Beyonce, which brings us on to the genius of this. Oh, sorry. When the Brat album cover was announced, it had people saying, my God, our directors must be on strike. To which Charlie responded, there is literally so much to say on this. And here I am. Would you believe what looks like it got sent to a WhatsApp group chat and all the aunties in Nepal screenshotted that and put it on Facebook Live, and then someone screenshotted that and then printed it out and took a low-res JPEG before it got to the designer? Took over 5 months to make. After trying different levels of blur, font sizes, shades of green, they ended up with a concept which was very similar to what Charlie had envisioned from the beginning. A cover that makes people think, wow, that's so ugly. I could have made that. And that's exactly the point. But you didn't. The question isn't, is Brat good design? Brat is anti-design. Anti-design is resistance and retaliation. Like art movements, it's reactionary, it's challenging. It's meant to subvert conventional design rules, like embrace a little bit of chaos, a little bit of uncertainty. Remember in 2021 when Spotify Rap came out and their top 5 genres looked like barcodes? They said, oh, you wanted to read the text? You see this with artists like Kanye's Life of Pablo. Anti-design, anti-Semitic. The blurry font has this very loud, whatever, anti-aesthetic attitude to like polished media, but it also evokes like a Web 2.0 nostalgia for the early days of weblogging. Gen Z crave the blurry vintage aesthetic of 240p YouTube, and the irony of graphic design is my passion. Like, I don't have to justify this text. That's a joke for designers. Who says text even has to be the right way around? Let's just make it backwards, and now you have to spend that little bit longer looking at the album. Brat's bold, minimalist format lends itself well to platforms that are built on the encouragement of replicable content. There's also something kind of feminist about the cover. In an entertainment industry that cashes in on youth and beauty as currency, and an audience that declares you expired when you turn 30, there is an expectation for a woman to be on the cover. She needs to be on the cover. Why should anyone have that level of ownership over female artists? Charlie said, "What? I can't even see her." Do you get it? Being a woman in entertainment, your image precedes your sound. Women are constantly asked to transform to capture the attention of an audience. It's like dressed to impress, but in real life. And I think it's really ironic that we, demand so much access to women's bodies, and yet we deny them agency at the same time. Whereas I think men tend to be afforded more agency to be experimental. They're like, yeah, bro, actually, he's just like a genius. He's just cooking, you just wouldn't get it. Because for men, their respectability and their worth as an artist is not as deeply reliant on the commodification of their body. And on the idea of desirability, the bright green. The color of the thing I need to touch more of. When I was at therapy, also known as the Choice of Art concert, I saw the stage light up and I got flashbacks to We Fit calling me obese. But also, Charli XCX gave a surprise performance, and Your Honor, as my own lawyer, my client may or may not have cried. Allegedly. I wanted to go with an offensive off-trend shade of green to trigger the idea of something being wrong, she explained. I'd like for us to question our expectations of pop culture. Why are some things good and acceptable and some things deemed bad? I'm interested in the narratives behind that, and I want to provoke people. I'm not doing things to be nice. What color does your music sound like? Melancholic Lorde blues, Clairo's soft and earthy green, or Ed Sheeran's Asta green? Ed Sheeran's just catching strays, man. Bright green is the literal color of summer. It's got enough yellow to be slightly rotten looking, but it's not neon enough to be kind of like highlighter. Kind of got the vibes a little bit like gritty. You're kind of in an underground and the walls are dripping with sweat vibes. Maybe there's like a random poo in the corner. Maybe that was a personal thing that I experienced that's not related to. Green is the literal antithesis to the Barbie pink, the millennial pink, and it rejects this clean, mass marketable look. The green doesn't conform to the most aesthetically pleasing green norms. It's about being a little bit trashy, a little bit anti-luxury. It's literally anti-trend and embodies the idea of being brat. Before we can talk about how brat became an identity trend, we need to talk about how the ideology spread and what made the Brat album different. Here's how the album rollout and Brat was right for its time. Do you remember when album rollouts were fun? Yeah, me neither, because COVID took my memories away, but Brat had like an energy to it. Unlike previous albums, the rollout for Brat wasn't just, okay, let's just do a few interviews, bit of merch, drop an album, do a tour, and call it a day, which she did. Her team really put in the work with the campaign, right? Because the Brat album and the idea of Brat was alive outside of the experience of just listening to it. And I would say Brat Summer is actually not even about the album. For example, in the physical, we had the Brat wall that was painted in LA and stood there for literal months. It was live streamed on TikTok. Fans literally watched paint dry and they were speculating. And it was teasing loads of Brat related releases. And it also got shat on at one point. It's probably the same person from the club. Charli described it as a space where me and my fans could come together as one without the barriers or stiffness of normal fan events. And the thing is, it was free. Charli was begging for us to get out and touch a bit green. And there was also a Brat elephant, which had to get euthanized at one point. In the digital, we had TikTok trends and the Brat generator, which let the public easily make their own Brat theme memes. We had dances to the song Apple, also known as user-generated content. Okay, somebody needs to investigate the unpaid labor of being a stan. Coming October, we also have a remix album drop, proving that, she didn't forget about the Southern Hemisphere, because nothing says she knows her audience demographic like the strategic collabs 360 music video. Addison Rae screaming, Billie Eilish talking about munching on some word, talking about her childhood trauma of, when she was 10, someone said she walks like a bitch. When I was 6 years old, some teenagers told me I look pregnant. And now I have body issues. The thing is with this is I wonder if it will age badly like Do you remember the song Boys? Where she had like 50 different cameos from people who were it at the time, like Casper Lee, Cameron Dallas, and so many other people that most of them have faded into obsolescence, which, you know, it's not even a cameo anymore at this point. They just become background extras. But why are people so attached to aestheticized identities? To explain what brat means, let's use Fiona from Shrek. At the start, she could be described as demure and mindful. She's conforming to the archetypal princess storyline, right? Yet she realized that actually this is not her calling pies. Fiona as a character is independent with this unabashed confidence. She burps a little, she farts a lot. She's literally green. She's brat. Brat Summer is both an aesthetic as it is an identity. It's in between the spectrum of kind of being in an era of your life and adopting an aesthetic. It's sort of indie sleaze meets hot girl summer means it girl meets simultaneously sad girl summer and ironically girl boss and a bit of Kesha Core. What happened to just calling it like living? Like what happened to just going outside? The thing that people don't understand about Brat Summer is that it's not just about the performance of having smudged eyeliner and your nips out as an accessory, but it's about having this like bold, unabashed confidence, and you're chasing to immortalize your adolescence, and then after a night out you have a menti B in the toilet because you're thinking, am I meant to be a mother or not? Am I going to regret either being or not being a mother? Because is it just societal pressure or is it my biological instinct? But I gotta hurry up because my time is running out and so are my eggs. All with your nips out. Broke up with your toxic ex and now you're HOTTOGO in the club with your sunglasses on. Brat Summer. Stressing about your dissertation because even though it feels like you've been working on a day, somehow you only have like a couple days left before you have to submit and you still have the majority of it left to go, so you pull out so many all-nighters in a row and then you submit it just like a minute before the deadline and somehow you still put it off and get first. Brat Summer. Lactose intolerant. Brat Summer. Brat Summer is everything. Brat Summer is nothing. Being vulnerable, but you're also wearing your confidence as a shield. It's about the duality of being a woman. And this duality, you can really see in her songs. I don't feel like nothing special. I snag my tights out on the lawn chair. I used to just live for the party, doors open. I'm famous, but not quite, which explains her straddling position in fame. But then, at the same time, in another song, she's like, I'm everywhere, I'm so Julia. Now I just want to dance to May, and it's like we all have these two demons inside of us. I hate these doubts that keep running through my mind. I think sometimes I think it would be cool to unwind sometimes. I used to burn CDs full of songs I didn't know. I used to sit in my bedroom putting polish on my toes. Guys? Is this song about us? There's a sense of nostalgia that I think Charli captures really well. I'm personally nostalgic for 2008, where instead of investing into Bitcoin and cashing in on the housing market crash and pulling my family out of the rent cycle and creating generational wealth, I was 10. Not to be that person that always brings up COVID, but I think it's relevant, especially after COVID. I feel like we're just chasing the years that we lost. When fruit wasn't £4, back when a house cost like 2 carrots, a chicken, and an onion. And it feels like recession pop is making a comeback. Except that we're so aware of our state of inertia and everything is so expensive that we can't even dance the night away and have escapism properly. And I think Charli kind of reflecting the state of being less polished, more raw, more vulnerable. She just wants to dance and party, but she also has all these dualities living in her at the same time. We kind of latch onto that idea. And everyone was having a fun time, you know, embracing the complexities of their relationship, being a little bit messy, posting green squares everywhere. Until one day, what once was a green ripe avocado, the next day rotted right to the core. What purported itself to be anti-trend became the very thing that it criticized, and worse. When it stopped being about playing brat to your haunted dolls and along came brand deals, corporations, and politics. In 2024, you can't just have cake. You're gonna slice up that cake, right, for your target market in order to maximize your ROI by leveraging market hype in order to maximize your brand awareness, right? Am I with everybody here? An example here. Are you a brat worst? Or maybe your donut is brat Right. Or how about you get your Gen Z intern, Maisie, looking at you, to write a script? Yeah. Like here's an example.
It's a brat summer at Curry's, my guys. Our offers hit different AF. This microwave 8.
Do you get it? Bro, I don't get it either, but I guess it works. Maybe KFC is brat, right? Doesn't that look absolutely delicious?
Bro, that looks like doo-doo crap. I know
Or
what you're
there's
talking about,
even
man.
Starbucks. Right. There's an Apple reference here. So, you know, they'll forget all about their anti-union controversy. But for what truly killed Brat, we have to look back. The year is 2016, a year of juxtaposition, a year where people around the world both stood still as a challenge and ran around doing challenges.
Wander the neighborhood in search of Pokemon characters who pop up. This group had only been friends for 5 minutes when we ran into them.
So we started talking, and then they showed up, and then we started talking, and we were just like, hey, we all play Pokemon Go. It's a Pokemon right there, Pokemon right there.
And in America, we had what was to the world then a divisive businessman turned reality TV star turned June landscape.
2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody, and that's fine. Nobody reports that.
Against a very serious, conventionally boring candidate, Hillary Clinton. That is, until she did this.
But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
And then came the death of Pokemon Go. Take that back to now, in 2024, hours after it was all over and Joe Biden pulled out of the presidential race, Charli XCX, a British singer, tweets about the American presidential election, saying, Kamala is brat. And so she gave the Democratic Party, in the midst of a presidential campaign, one of the most valuable ins into the youth's trending conversation: organic social media marketing. The Kamala HQ account then rebrands with a brat theme banner, and then we had an explosion of think pieces and Kamala brat edits. And whenever we see stuff like this,
So is the idea that we're all kind of brat and Vice President Harris is brat? I don't.
Well,
I don't know if
Two
you're
of-
brat. I think
right,
you aspire
two
to
of us-
be brat.
right,
Okay, you don't
right.
just become brat.
Oh, okay.
a part of culture dies. But apart from just wondering what possessed Charli XCX, who says that politics doesn't feed my art, to tweet that, I also question, but what makes Kamala brat? Firstly, Charli and Kamala are both mixed with Indian heritage, and they both make humanities teachers proud because they both really care about context. The proverbial song Apple talks about wanting to escape the cyclical nature of intergenerational trauma. I guess the apple don't fall far from the tree. In a similar way that Kamala's, oh, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and all that came before you. Which I think is both like a beautiful reminder, especially for immigrant children, that, hey, remember your roots, and your parents both have a lot of unhealed trauma, and you're probably gonna end up like that. Brat is like being unapologetically yourself. You're also a little bit messy. He says dumb things sometimes. To be branded as messy is better than being branded as cop. And there are things that are brat, like, okay, first female president, that's pretty brat. Capping insulin prices and not allowing price gouging on food, okay, that is pretty brat. Oh, unconditional support and military funding for a country doing genocide? Oh, not so brat. I think the debate isn't even about, oh, is Harris brat or not? Like, that is a distraction, frankly. The branding of being, oh, she's a little bit silly, a little bit goofy, oh, she's iconic, she's so brat. Politics becomes performance, right? It's the memification of politicians. Whether it's through brat edits, whether it's through like fixating on her laugh for some reason, I think it helps make her more favorable, more palatable. Let's bypass TikTok's no political advertisement policies, because the people will advertise for us, really. And honestly, it's not even that unique, okay? Our team didn't even do it first, because in the UK, we had the Green Party who used the brat aesthetic as well for their branding. What's important about this branding is that for a people who are the least tuned in, least likely to vote, being endorsed by the zeitgeist of the summer, her proximity to like a really strong digital presence helps her to really be in the awareness of young voters. Like, hey, you kind of know who she is now. Maybe not so much what she stands for. Let's be honest, Brat Summer is not a policy stance, especially when you are up against the threat to democracy. America needs everybody, including young voters, to be locked in. And Charli, who claimed that politics does not feed my art, said, to be on the right side of democracy, the side of women's rights, is hugely important to me, she told New York Magazine. I'm happy to prevent democracy from failing forever. And as a brand communication strategy, it says, hey, her team kind of speaks the same language as you, and by extension, her policies also understand you. But here's the thing. Charli also didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. As much as she craves her music to be apolitical, we all inevitably exist in the context. For example, her endorsement of Skims and H&M. Yo, chat, is a late-stage capitalism brat... Oh, you thought you were getting a collab with Charli and H&M because this receipt says XCX sunglasses and Charli's dress? No, it's literally just the H&M winter collection with a plastic coat that probably won't even last you until next season. Yeah, fashion is fast, and so is the damage to our planet. There's also a mountain of underwear in her guest music video, which to me really resembles like textile landfills, although they did donate it to women's shelters, so it didn't go to waste. And here's the thing, I think Charli never like purported herself to be like this super ethical person who's not above doing like a cash grab or anything. She called Crash like a sellout album, previously been vocal about wanting to collab with like brands who are a little bit I do feel like it soured everything. I do think these events are also beyond just Charli as well, and it's more about the state of where we're at. In an age where people flick through music and trends faster than the cashier at an Aldi checkout, it's like, will Brat even lost in people's consciousness? What makes people remember album songs or trends? Like, is it the feelings associated with it? Like Blonde, the feeling of crying in the shower. Is it the companionship that Lorde's melodrama brought me? All those nights, alone, lonely, in my uni room, 3 computer science projects due, my tears twinkling by the soft glow of my 5-pound Wilco fairy lights. Both dreading early adulthood and the desire for growth. Is that just me? This might sound unrelated, but let me cook, okay? For me, strong albums are marked with a sense of nostalgia and crying. But it's about how a song became the theme tune for a moment in my life, right? And I think maybe Brat is gonna define the time in your life where you're grappling with growing in a time of fickle morality and hyper-commodification, where our own self-understanding is driven by what we consume. Niche labels, and where TikTok trends allow for your anxieties to be finally understood for the blink of an eye before the cultural pendulum swings, where trends die before they're fully born and you move on to the next micro movement, which ends up challenging nothing but the wardrobe that you're gonna wear. Maybe that was too pessimistic, and maybe you just want to hear club bangers that's a little bit more honest and a bit messy, which is also fine. That's also an analysis, right? Or maybe we do need to be a little bit more mindful, if not demure.